Wondering. Hey, and we're live. Welcome to Kobo Writing Live's Q&A with Carlyn Robertson from BookBub. Thanks, Carlyn, for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Am I pronouncing it right, Carlyn or Carlyn?
Yes, Carlyn.
Carlyn, okay, yeah. Sorry, just my accent. I'm always just like going to pronounce things incorrectly.
You're not the only one. It's mispronounced a lot. So I'll answer to anything that's close.
All right, we'll just call you C. Robertson. There we go.
Perfect.
So we'll be looking at questions throughout that are in the comments. So if you have any questions, let us know. And I have a couple of questions just to get started. So, you know, for an author that's unfamiliar, can you tell us what BookBub is?
Yeah, absolutely. So BookBub is a marketing platform for authors. For authors and publishers, we've got a bunch of marketing tools, and for readers, we've got tools to discover new books and new authors. So we have over 20 million readers signed up now to, to get our daily featured deal email. It's kind of the main thing that readers come to us for. So usually if you hear BookBub, what most people think of, what we're most known for is that daily featured deals email. So we're sending out to our readers every single day ebook deals in the genres of their choice with links to purchase on the retailer of their choice. So when readers sign up to BookBub, they let us know their categories, where they buy ebooks, and we send them deals in those categories. And so that's what we started with, 8 years ago now.
Wow.
And since then, we've launched a ton of other tools that authors can use to reach that audience of readers. Other than deals, we've got tools to promote pre-orders, new releases, full-priced books. We've got our BookBub Ads platform is a completely self-serve ads platform that you can use anyone can use to reach our audience of readers. So pretty much any book marketing goal that you have, we've got something that will help you out with that to reach this audience of readers who are all looking to discover new books.
Awesome. It sounds like kind of like everything in one space that an author could want.
That's what we're trying for, definitely.
So for an author that's starting out, say at the start of their career, like what can they use in BookBub to really help grow their reader base?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in order to claim a profile on BookBub, you do need to have a book published on one of the retailers that we support. So BookBub members are signed up to Kobo and Amazon, Apple, Barnes & Noble, Google. So all the major ebook retailers. So as long as your book is live on one of those platforms, you can start growing a following on BookBub. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about that. Some are similar to ways you would grow followings on social media or on a newsletter. So links in the back of your books. When a reader finishes, you prompt them to get information about you in all those different places. Sort of cross-promoting on social media or newsletters, encouraging readers to follow you on BookBub. So the benefit actually for a reader of following an author is they'll get an email every single time that author releases a new book. And we do that for free for every single author, every single release. And if you run other promotions, you can choose to send a email alert when you have a book up for pre-order at any point during that pre-order period. If you run a featured deal, so one of those deals in the daily email, we'll also email your followers about that. So they get updates anytime you've got sort of exciting book news through BookBub. So it's a great sort of simple way to stay up to date if someone really just wants to know about the new releases. That's one sort of common reason that we see authors encouraging their fans to follow them. So encouraging it on social media. There's some things you can do within the BookBub ecosystem as well. So running a featured deal is actually a really great way to grow your follower base. And after an author runs a deal, we'll actually email any reader who clicked on that deal and prompt them to follow the author as a way to just sort of signal you're excited about this author's books, follow them to learn more and hear next time they have another deal or a new book. And our recommendations tool is another great way to get exposure to readers who aren't following you yet. So free for any author, you can recommend books on BookBub. Simple sort of rate and review process, but we do highlight specifically books that people are recommending that they do think other people should read. And we share those in a lot of different ways on our website. So your followers will always see your recommendations, but we also surface them to readers in other ways. So if I, as a reader, recommend a book on BookBub to my friends that are following me, after I post that recommendation, we actually show you the authors who have recommended that book. So it's a great way to see an author who you share similar tastes with. There's a few other ways like that we are making sure that authors who are posting those recommendations and active on the platform get exposed to other readers who might be interested to hear what they have to say.
Cool. I love that idea because we're seeing more and more kind of co-authoring promotions going around, and like it's like such a great way to reach like a wider range of readers by using like authors that are in similar genres to you and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a really awesome idea. I know that we
actually we surveyed our readers and we were really surprised. Author recommendations are super powerful. They can be enough to actually drive full price sales. So we asked our readers, what are the various things that convince you to buy a new book? And I think it was 74% said that a recommendation from an author they like will be enough to convince them to purchase.
Oh, wow.
And at almost the same rate as they trust friends and family members. So as an author, you have almost as much power as someone that a reader knows personally to suggest the next book that they read.
It really is like the digital word of mouth, because that's still how books are being sold, right? So, and especially with if an author is someone that they trust, that's a really great way of like trying to kind of gain more trust with your readers as well. So you're kind of, a lot of the stuff or kind of what the authors can use things for is on new releases. Are there any tips that you have about like pre-orders or best practices that you see in terms of utilizing new releases? Like, is there a specific time period that really works well, or does it vary from retailer to retailer?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So far, we haven't seen a ton of patterns in terms of pre-order promotion. So you can choose to send that pre-order alert at any point during the pre-order period. So some people will, 6 months in advance, send that out to their readers to let them know, knowing that they'll get the email when the book goes live as well. Some people do it the week before release or the day before to try to sort of build up excitement. We always see that there are incremental sales when you send that alert for the pre-order, in addition to getting that free new release email. But it seems that readers just have really different preferences. Some of them will pre-order as soon as they can. Some like to wait until it's live and they get that instant gratification. So I wish that we had more of a strong signal there in terms of what works best. But I would say for yourself, like, authors play around with that, try out different things, see what works best for your particular books, your particular audience of readers. We see a lot of different things working, a lot of different strategies.
Yeah, it's. I kind of think with pre-orders, if you have kind of the metadata ready and you have your book cover, I would say like put it up if you can. But what you want to do with your promotion around it is like totally up to you and like your preference. Like at least I would say like 2 or 3 months before your release. That's kind of key area. So I mean, a tough question. What's your number one like top tip that authors should be doing on BookBub? Is there an underutilized area?
Yeah, that's a good question. Number one top tip.
I mean, you can give us like 3 or 4 if you want.
So 2 things come to mind. First is with featured deals, which is kind of the golden ticket, the promotion that most people are really looking for from us. My top tip would be to keep submitting. You can submit the same book once every 30 days, and there's no reason not to do that. So every single time you submit a book, it's reviewed by our editorial team, and they are looking out of all the books that get submitted to us for the ones that they think are going to perform best with our readers. So it's a really tough process because they are having to make tough choices. It usually comes down to just a numbers game, that we've got only a certain number of spots in that email, and a bunch of the books that we're considering would probably be a great fit for our readers, but they have to be selective there. So every time you resubmit, there's a different pool of other books in that submission pool that your book is being compared to. So what that means is every single time you submit, the criteria is going to be a little bit different. So that's really actually the best way to increase your odds of getting selected, is just to keep trying. And I know it can be tough to get the emails saying you're not selected over and over, but we're always delighted when we hear stories about authors who have tried. I've heard some, I think literally like 25 times, 30 times they've submitted before they finally got selected. So don't get discouraged and keep trying with your future deal submissions would be one tip.
Yeah, it doesn't matter on genre with submissions or like different countries. I know Frank had a question there. Does subject matter? Is there like the US is the more kind of competitive market, I would say, for your future deals, right?
Yes,
it's the harder one to get to. So is there something that you see it being a more successful in terms of different markets?
So the US is most competitive, partially because we're getting submissions from publishing houses and independent authors. And a lot of the publishing houses don't necessarily have worldwide rights for some of the books that they're submitting. So what that means is we've often got, and we work with international publishers as well, but we do typically have more books that are submitted just for the US. So those spots tend to be more competitive. And sometimes we do have more spots in our other international regions. So we've got readers in US, UK, Canada, India, Australia. We do actually let you know if you've submitted your book for all regions and we don't have space in the US, but we do want to send it to our international readers. So we will give you an offer in that case. You don't have to try to sort of figure out our system for yourself. Should you submit without the US, go ahead and submit for all regions, and note in the comments if you are open to international only. That's great for our editorial team to know. And we'll let you know if we do have space to make that happen. And also, if we've offered that to you and it's not what you were hoping for, is not going to work with your plans right now, feel free to let us know you don't want to move forward. That also is no problem at all for us. We only want to do the features that are going to be helpful for you and help you with your marketing plans.
Yeah, I know it's good for authors to keep in mind with in terms of Kobo that Canada is our biggest market. So sometimes it can maybe be a bit easier to get a Canada featured deal than it would perhaps be a general US one. So yeah, just sort of little workarounds there to try and get featured. So this could be an entire other hour conversation, but tell us about ads.
Oh, yes. One of my favorite topics. So the BookBub Ads platform, and that would have been my other tip, actually, for number one things authors can do, just because anyone can run an ad campaign at any time. So unlike the featured deals, which are really competitive to get, any author can take advantage of that ads platform and reach our audience of readers who every time they open their emails or they visit the BookBub website, they are browsing for new books. So getting an ad in front of them when they are there to purchase new books is a really engaged, active audience. You know it's people that read, you know that they're there looking for books. So again, it's a self-serve auction ad platform, so very similar to Facebook ads or the AMS platform, for those of you that are familiar with those ones. So basically you have total customization and control over your campaigns. You tell us what the budget is, you tell us how much you want to bid. You can bid on impressions or on clicks, which could also be its own hour-long conversation, the bidding process and tips.
I mean, there's so many books written alone about that.
Yes, yeah. But basically you get control over how much you want to pay in total, and then the rate that you want to pay to reach the readers is kind of the simplest way to boil that down. And then targeting, you can, so many customization options. You can go by our categories, but what we actually recommend even better is targeting by author interest. So you can reach all of the readers on BookBub who follow an author or have engaged with that author on our platform. So if they clicked on a featured deal or an ad that had that author's books in it, that we can use that as well as part of the targeting for that author's audience of fans on BookBub. So that lets you reach a really narrow audience of readers. And we have a lot more authors available to target than a platform like Facebook, which has limited options. And then, of course, most exciting for the Kobo Ready Life authors is you can actually narrow it down by retailer as well. So you could set up an ad that was only targeting Kobo readers in Canada, which would actually be a great strategy because there aren't as many ads, again, targeting those international regions and targeting the non-Amazon retailers. A lot more competition for Amazon US, and pretty much every other region and retailer, you're going to get really engaged readers at relatively low costs. So that's a really fantastic strategy. And we see all kinds of cool stuff. People customize the ad image to put the Kobo logo in there, or or they'll use like if it's in the UK, they would use the pound symbol instead of $sign. So just like extra signals that it's really targeted to that audience that you are trying to reach. And I mean, you can use ads for anything. So discounts, new releases, pre-orders. One author even tested like different cover designs with the ad platform, which is one of the coolest ways we've seen it get used.
Oh, so it's like using the ad platform as its own little A/B test.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. That's really interesting. I always like the independent authors are so creative when it comes to marketing and things like that.
They really are. I'm always impressed. Yeah. I mean, we often hear what people are doing, like, oh, that's a great idea. We didn't even think of that.
We're like, we're going to build that now. I love the idea of targeting to Kobo readers in Canada too. I think that's really valuable. And it's kind of a way of getting, more out of, like we said, the word of mouth kind of sense that BookBub really has. So you kind of gave some tips about what people are doing, but is there anything, I think we had a question from Olga that wanted to know about what catches a reader's eye? And I know that's really subjective to genre, but like, is there something that helps getting them click on a link? Is there more words or different style images, or is it really kind of based on each genre and book itself?
Yeah, so there are some things that we found hold true sort of in general. Some of that's off of just our own observation, looking at tons of ad campaigns, and some of it is actually from tests that we've done with our featured deal blurbs. So we run A/B tests for not every, but in a lot of cases for the featured deals that we run. In the copy that we send out, we'll try particular things to see if there are tropes or awards or phrases or different things that are going to make BookBub readers more likely to click. And we have seen a lot of those results carry over to the ads as well. So some of the things that work really well, tropes for your genre. And that's, of course, going to vary a ton by genre, but readers and BookBub readers know exactly what they like to read. So if you can let them know in your ad exactly what they can expect to find, and they immediately recognize that as something they love, that's going to be a very easy choice for them to click and learn more about that. Tropes work really well. Deal prices, of course, unsurprisingly, that's the whole concept behind the featured deal, is that a lower price makes it really easy for a reader to take a chance on a book or an author that they haven't heard of before. So that works really well for the first books in series. If you have 99 cents free, $1.99, $2.99, lower risk for a reader to take a chance on that. And then we absolutely see follow-on sales, full price to later books in series from featured deals and from the ad campaigns as well. That's kind of one of the number one use cases we see. So a low price highlighted in that image, again, makes it easy for a reader to click, learn more, know that it's going to be pretty cheap to buy that book.
Yeah, and we often see authors or Kobo Writing Life authors using BookBub, especially for, say, for instance, a free book, and then applying to like our free page that we have. So we like quickly learned that the most searched term on Kobo was free, because people like free things. But so we curate this page that has, and it doesn't necessarily have to be free first in series, but it's it can be just free for a little bit of time. But if you have a BookBub coming up for a free book, we really encourage people to like apply to be featured in that page, because it really does help with the read through, like you said.
And I mean, really with a free book in particular, the more eyes you can get on it, the better. That's the idea of the ads too, is even if you're running a featured deal, you can then keep the ads going for the entire time that it's free. And then you've got eyes coming in from Kobo, coming in from BookBub. The more the better for that, definitely.
Yeah. So there's some questions coming in there. I think we'll answer them as they're coming through.
All right.
So Jessica asked, do you have to discount your book for a feature ad or just have a good price?
Good question. So we do require, I think it's a 50% at least discount. And we typically don't feature books higher than $3.99 or $4.99 in the featured deal email. And that's the only tool that we have discounting requirements for. So for the ads, it can be books at any price, new release alerts, the Preorder alerts, all of those, any price. But for the featured deals, we do have so the discount prices are kind of free, 99 cents, $1.99, $2.99 are the most common. $3.99 and $4.99 are a little bit of a harder sell, typically for sort of really big name authors with a ton of brand recognition. We have a bunch of really great blog posts on the differences between those prices and sort of what we recommend based on what your goals are, how many books you've written. If you only have one book, free is great if you really want to maximize reviews or get newsletter signups. But if you do want to get some revenue, then 99 cents, $1.99 are usually what we would recommend in terms of deal prices there.
Nice. And you wrote a lot of these blog posts yourself, right?
I did write a lot of them, yeah. So I'll be answering a lot of these questions far more articulately there than I will here, but yeah.
And Julie asked, are only titles in English featured on BookBub?
Sorry, one more time for that one.
Are only titles in English featured on BookBub?
Yes. So yeah, right now it's only English titles. We have heard a lot of requests for BookBub in other languages. It's not something that we have plans for at this point, but maybe someday in the future we could do translations.
Oh, cool. That would be awesome. You'll have to give us the insider info whenever that happens.
Yeah, definitely not anytime soon, but someday it would be nice.
Cool. S.H. Pratt, and Wayne has a question that I'll get to in a second, but S.H. Pratt is asking, do you have a BookBub ads process for dummies or like a book for people that are just completely floundering in the world of marketing?
Yeah, so we've got a few, again, our blog is kind of our main educational resource. So we've got a tutorial for the ads platform with a video and a blog post that breaks it down and explains kind of all the different elements in that form. For that tool in particular. We also have a couple of downloadable flip books on the blog. that have pulled together a ton of different marketing examples or focus on new release promotions. They're kind of themed around different areas. There'll be some great starting points, I think, for sort of super basics. And then we also have a support team. So if you email us at partners@bookbub.com, we've got real people on the other end that will answer your questions, and we can help with anything. There's truly no question too basic. We know that everyone is coming in with different levels of experience, and we can help sort of walk through all of our different options for you and let you know suggestions for what we think makes the most sense based on, again, sort of where you are in your career and what you're trying to accomplish. So, and then other people outside of BookBub have written lots of great books as well on sort of the basics of marketing and how to get started. I love the indie author community because there's so much generosity in terms of information and tips and knowledge.
I know.
Which is really lovely.
I don't think there's another business out there that just openly is just like, here's how I cracked it and how you can do.
Yeah.
They really share everything. So I love that.
It's really wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. So Nikki wants to know, what does BookBub look for when selecting book covers for deals? Is it, the number of reviews or ratings? Is there something that they can put in the comments to make their book stand out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great question. So in addition to just sort of comparing all the submissions and having to narrow it down for the number of spots we have, what the editors are looking for is really anything that a reader would also look at when deciding whether or not to purchase a book. So they're looking at the plot. Is it a plot that our readers like? And we know that just from the deals that we've run in the past, the tests we've run in the blurb, sort of what they have really clicked on and been excited about and what maybe didn't get as much interest. So our audiences of readers actually have pretty unique tastes in each genre and don't necessarily line up with the greater world of readers at large. So they're looking for particular signals for the things that we know our unique audience really likes. So having a great book description that's pretty clear about what your book is about is always helpful. The editors do look at review counts, but they also actually look at the content of those reviews. And more important than total count.
In depth to looking at them.
For them, it's a really great way to know how other readers have responded to a book, to get a sense for, are they mentioning things that we know our readers love? Are they mentioning things that maybe aren't as good of a fit for our readers? And that's a place where they can look for also red flags, like if there's typos or editorial errors, that's going to be a big problem for us. But I always like to say, a 1-star review from a reader who says, like, just wasn't my cup of tea. Like, that's not going to be a big deal. We know that every reader has very different tastes and preferences. Right. So review content, book description. If you have quotes from other authors who maybe have name recognition with our audience, that would be a thing to highlight in comments. You don't need to put the full book description in the comments. So the editors are going to your retailer pages to take a look at that. So anything that's not obvious on the retailer page is something good to put in the comments. So let's say you've got a really fabulous quote on one of your other books that is not the one that you're submitting. That could be a good thing to highlight in the comments for the editors to see any sort of accolades or quotes about you as an author generally, or things that we might want to include in those blurbs, or might just be some other good information for us.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. So like any sort of awards or anything that's been involved in the book. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sweet. So Natalie would like to know if you can only submit a book once every 30 days. Is that the case?
Yes. Yep.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, so that's once every 30 days. And then Wayne answered a question the other way around. Okay. So Wayne has been asking a couple of questions about audiobooks and Chirp. So that was something that which could also be another hour conversation.
Could be.
Yeah. So tell us about what BookBub's doing with audio.
Yeah. So, it was around this time last year, I think, that we announced Chirp, which is our new audiobook retailer. So members can sign up for Chirp for free, very similar to BookBub. We send them a daily email with audiobook deals in the genres of their choice. But the big difference is that they are purchasing those audiobooks directly through Chirp. So we've got a full audiobook catalog. We've got an app for Android and iOS, a listening app where you can listen to the audiobooks you've purchased. So yeah, it's been really exciting so far. It's definitely a smaller audience than BookBub. We've been inviting our BookBub members over to Chirp and starting to market to audiobook listeners. We know that there were many BookBub members who read ebooks and listen to audio, so we definitely wanted to make sure that we offered them that opportunity to sign up. So it's basically the same model as featured deals, but with the difference being that they're purchasing it from that Chirp platform. It's all a la carte. There's no subscription. So if a book is 99 cents, the reader pays 99 cents for that book and they download it. It's theirs to listen to whenever they want. And the way that you get your audiobooks onto Chirp is through the Findaway Voices platform. So they are an audiobook distributor, and they distribute out to tons of retailers, libraries, other audio listening programs. And right now, the sole distributor to Chirp. So if your audiobooks are with Findaway Voices already, they should already be live on the Chirp website. And Voices does both audiobook production. If you don't have audiobooks yet, or if you already have audiobooks you've recorded elsewhere, you can distribute them through Findaway Voices as well.
Cool. And do you guys have any plans to move into print, or is the focus on audio and digital ebooks right now?
Yeah, good question. Right now, still all digital, so ebooks and audio. We know that BookBub readers also read print as well. They just love to read, no matter how they can get their books. So no plans now. We're definitely spending a lot of time working on Chirp. And Chirp actually is only available to members in the US right now. So still a lot to do on the Chirp side. And we're getting tons of feedback from our members on features we can add to the app and to the website experience. So we're spending a lot of time on that right now, building it up and growing our listener base there. Yeah.
Do you see any, is there anything that strikes you that's very different between the audiobook reader and the ebook reader? Like, are the genres the same? Have you noticed anything specific?
Yeah. So far we have. So we have seen different tropes in the genres that do have the crossover between the audio and the ebooks, that readers are responding to different things. One fun category that we have on Chirp that we don't have on BookBub right now is classics. And that's something that those readers are responding well to. We still have a lot to learn at this point. Again, it's a much smaller audience on Chirp and hasn't been around as long as BookBub, but we're really excited to get more information about those differences. In terms of demographics, I think actually right now also, because so many of the readers came from BookBub, they're still pretty similar. So our BookBub readers are mainly women and mainly over 45 as well. So right now Chirp looks pretty similar to that. But we're really excited to see, obviously, the world of audiobook listeners is often very different than the people that read ebooks. So we definitely expect that as the platform grows, we're going to see sort of increasing differences between those two audiences.
Yeah, and we've noticed a little bit at Kobo, because we have both audio and ebook as well, that they do differ in the market, but it's very interesting, especially with indie, to see how it kind of slices up. Yeah. So if we go back to ebooks, and you talked about tropes a little bit, what's the most popular trope right now? Like, what's 2020's hit?
Oh, wow. Good question. It's going to be different across genres for sure. I'm most familiar actually with our romance categories and tropes, because that's what I used to work with actually on the BookBub side. And there are some things that are evergreen there. Dukes for historical romance, CEOs never get old. Second chance romances work really well. Trying to think about some of the other categories. We did actually do a blog post a couple months ago with some tropes kind of across genres. I would say don't take anything like it's, if your book has that trope, it's definitely going to get selected, or if it doesn't, it definitely won't. The tropes are sort of one signal that we look at, and they actually change a lot frequently, that we see things that worked well for a little while start to fade out of fashion. And then some things that maybe in the wider marketplace continue to, or maybe would be less popular, continue to be popular with BookBub readers. But if you go to our blog and search for tropes, I think that one will come up and have some information. Yeah.
Perfect. No, I was just going to say, we definitely notice that kind of tropes go around, and a lot of them are kind of cyclical, that, vampires will be in and then they're out and then they're in again. But I think it's important to not really write to market unless, you're kind of like unless that is your jam. But if you're kind of looking for a longer career writing, it's more so, like you said, write what you're doing. And if it happens to have a trope that's popular, that's awesome.
Yeah. The great thing about digital is there are readers out there looking for everything.
Yeah. Awesome. So Gloria asked a question specifically about what are your readers looking for in memoirs if you are not a celebrity?
That is a great question that I actually don't know the answer to off the top of my head. But that's something that if you emailed our team, we could talk to our editors, see if we've got some tips that we could share in terms of what's working well for that list right now. I don't know that one. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have a question from Elizabeth. This is maybe a question for your help as well. My book is a fantasy romance, but the category options only offer fantasy and paranormal. So what should she go for? A paranormal romance or a fantasy or both?
Yeah, great question. So for anything that falls in between a couple of the categories that we offer, I would say spend some time on our website, look at the ones that you think might be a good fit. And if you can see a trend from the books that we're actually featuring on those lists, is there one that seems to be a better fit for your book than the other? And if you can't figure it out, just do your best guess in the submission form. And then in the comment section, you can note any alternate categories you think might also be a good fit. And then that will come down to our editors to make that choice. So they're the ones who are the experts on our audiences of readers, and they'll be able to figure out sort of exactly which of the lists will be the best fit for a particular book. I know like urban fantasy, for example, sometimes goes to paranormal romance, sometimes goes to fantasy, sometimes goes to supernatural suspense. And that is going to depend on signals that the editors are familiar with. Everything from plot to the cover branding can make a difference in sort of which of those lists they think is going to be the best fit for a particular book. So make your best guess, and we'll definitely tell you if we think that there's another one that's a better fit.
Nice. And we talked a little bit about, Gloria saying, of course you'd be stumped by my question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gloria.
Sorry. We talked a little bit about how BookBub can work with Kobo and other retailers. Do you have any other advice to give about how authors can kind of use both platforms to kind of get as much sales as possible?
Yeah, we mentioned this a little bit, but stacking your promotions, I think, is a really great strategy. So if you have a deal coming up with Kobo, to submit that for a featured deal or run a BookBub Ads campaign, or vice versa. If you have a featured deal coming up, see what else you can do with Kobo to boost that even more. Again, the more eyes that you can get on your books, especially if you're running a deal, the better, and the more readers that you're going to reach. So squeezing everything together and getting as much traffic as you can in limited time periods can sort of just keep maximizing that visibility and get even more readers talking about your book, sharing your book, seeing it on retailers when they're browsing. It's a little bit vague, but yeah, do as much as you can sort of every time you've got a deal or another opportunity in your release to try to get as much of that visibility as possible.
Yeah, and what I would tell any Kobo Writing Life author is that if you have a BookBub, to let us know, because we sometimes have different promotions or spots that could suit them on our website, so we can kind of try and boost your book as best we can. And yeah, if there's any kind of, if you have any ideas for promotions or open to experiment, we are too, and I'm sure you guys are as well. So it's sort of interesting to just let us know, and we can all work together and try and sell as many books as possible.
Yeah.
So does your ad platform also go for audiobooks, or is that something that's in the works?
So that is in the works. It's only available to a handful of people right now, but if any of you are interested in that option, email us. We can get you into the beta group. So we have just added ads into the Chirp emails, so you can target readers on Chirp if you also have books on Chirp. And we actually started collecting audiobook retailer preference from all of our BookBub members as well. So you can target the BookBub members who are purchasing audiobooks on platforms like Kobo, or you can target Chirp members as well through the BookBub Ads platform. So that's something that is brand new that we're working on. But if any of you are excited to try that out, please do email us and we can get you access to that.
Oh, cool. I didn't realize that you were allowing sort of like people to direct to Kobo as well. That's really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. How has it been going so far?
It's been good so far. It's still only a small group of advertisers. So again, a lot to learn there. And it's tricky on the BookBub side because the audiobook ads are competing with the eBook ads. They're all in the same space. So we have a lot to learn kind of about how to recommend the bidding and the targeting for that. We're really excited to offer it as an option because there aren't a lot of ways to promote audiobooks right now. And a lot of authors have been asking BookBub, and I know other companies as well, for a long time, what they can do for their audiobooks. So the most important thing we've kind of seen so far is in that ad image to make sure it's really clear you're promoting an audiobook because the readers on BookBub are there for ebooks and audiobooks. We've even seen some people actually do ads for print books. I don't really know how that's worked out, but you can link out to anywhere. So any type of content you want to be promoting in the BookBub ad space, as long as it's a book, it's fair game.
Awesome. Yeah. So I bet you're seeing a lot of headphones on ads, like microphones, different things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. When do you expect that to be kind of rolled out to the wider base?
That is a good question. Hopefully over the next couple months, whenever
Just give us a date and we'll hold you to it. We'll be like, Carlyn told us it was going to be on the 12th of May.
Yeah, we always roll things out a little bit slowly and start by testing with small groups because we want to make sure that it's working well and that we're not, especially with ads, with the auction, the way that works, we don't want to sort of immediately flood the whole auction marketplace. So we're still making a lot of tweaks to the tool. But again, if you email us and you're really excited to try it out, we will do everything we can to get you access as soon as possible.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We have a couple more questions here from Suze and Liza, just about how to get the most out of the new release feature. And I think we kind of went over some of those, giving as much information as possible about your books. But do you have any tips for authors to get like a positive return on investment on using like a deals for a new book? I guess it's like you said, it's all about the plan that they have. But is there anything that we missed so far?
Yeah. So we have a couple different tools for new books. So the featured new release is the weekly. So we're sending emails out weekly to the same audiences as the featured deals. So a full category of readers, but it's new books priced at whatever price they are. There's no discounting rules there. So they can be full priced. You can offer a discount, but that's actually one tip I would say is if you are submitting for one of those weekly featured new releases, we don't display the book's price in the email. So if you price it really low, you're not going to get the added boost of readers seeing that low price and clicking and being drawn by that. So in terms of ROI, I would say that's actually working best for slightly higher priced books, $3.99 to whatever the upper limit is there.
None, infinity.
So that's one thing to keep in mind. And I would say that tool is really excellent for wide exposure. So especially if you have a smaller audience in terms of followers, your new release alert will always go out to them for free. But if you don't have as many followers yet, the featured new release could be a great option to get your book out in front of a much larger audience of readers.
That's a good question that we get a lot actually with authors that are kind of moving into wide now and like trying to build up their base as, they found some success on, a single platform and then want to move wider. So that's good to know that they can kind of just use that to slowly build up. And,
yes, definitely. Yeah. I've also heard featured deals are a fantastic option to try for if you're trying to switch to wide. That obviously you can reach readers across all of those different platforms. So it's a great way to sort of jumpstart your audience.
Yeah.
Other things for new releases. So the featured new release, fantastic for exposure. You can actually use featured deals not for the new book, but we recommend running a deal on an older book. So if you are releasing a new book in a series, running a featured deal on either the first book in the series or the previous book, depending on if it's sequential or not. We see a ton of sales on an author's other books on the day of their featured deal. So if your new release is live, you run that featured deal, you're going to get a lot of readers sort of organically moving over to it from that deal. Especially if you are wary about discounting a brand new release, that can be a great strategy. Again, the pre-order alert to sort of get awareness before launch day, new release alert will send on launch day, and then BookBub ads are a great strategy. We actually just published a blog post yesterday that was a case study on an author who used BookBub ads for a new release to great success. And she was really generous sharing all of her strategies and data and sort of how she decided to bid on that and how much she invested in her ads. So if you want to see kind of a detailed case study of new release launch with that platform, that's a great place to go.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like one of the perks, like we said, about the indie authors just really being so open and sharing their data. I'm going to have a look at that right after this.
It's a great one. Yeah. I wrote it as well, but it was very good. Very little from me. That was all the author and her strategy and making that work.
Oh, are you an author too, or is it just blog posts that you're writing?
Not, just blog posts that I'm authoring right now.
Any ambitions to move into that world?
I don't know. It's a good question. I get asked that all the time. It would be fun, certainly, but I also know how much work it is. So
yes,
I know how much it takes and how hard all of you are working to make that happen. Yeah. Stick with blog posts for now.
Exactly. I mean, they're great blog posts, so why not? I'm just going to go through a couple more of the questions here.
Sure, yeah.
So from Ashley Farley, will Chirp ever be available through Authors Republic audio distribution?
Not that I'm aware of right now. So Findaway Voices is the sole distributor for Chirp there. That's just the way that we've set it up for now.
Cool. Wayne has another question. If a KU book was featured in the last 6 months and is now wide, can I submit for a non-Amazon feature, or does it have to wait until the 6 months runs out?
It does have to wait the full 6 months there. And that's because we do segment things by retailer, but we segment by region, not by retailer, because a lot of readers are actually signed up to multiple retailers. I'm one of them. I purchase from pretty much everywhere. So if we were to send a book back out to just our non-Amazon readers, it might hit some people again for the same time. And the reason, so we have the 6-month rule. If we feature a book, you have to wait 6 months before we feature it again. The reason that rule is in place is just to make sure we're always sending new content out to our readers, keeping them engaged. They know when they open the emails, it's going to be new books. So they're going to keep coming back to open the emails. So it's just something that we do for our reader engagement. So you do have to wait 6 months there.
That's good to know. Yeah. So it's good to know that you're kind of targeting by geo multi-retailers as well. Yeah. Cool. So if I'm trying to think if I have any other questions that you guys have. Frenchman says, hello, everyone. So yeah, we talked about audiobooks. Is that the main project that you guys are working on, or do you have anything else up your sleeves for this year?
Right now, it's definitely the audiobooks. So both the whole Chirp retailer and experience is brand new for us. Really exciting, but again, a lot to learn, a lot of great feedback from our early members. So we're working hard to kind of build that whole platform up. And then the audiobook ads as well is kind of the next big project that we're working on. Is
Chirp just available in the US?
Just in the US for now, yeah.
Okay. All right, good to know. So you're just going to be expanding that. Will you have any sort of new tweaks to the ad platform itself, or is it just kind of running well as it is?
Yeah, we are always making tweaks to the ad platform. They might not always be visible. There's a lot we do on the back end just to keep that auction running smoothly. So adding audio ads kind of been the next big thing, and making sure that we can get that targeting in the Chirp emails, and adding all the reporting that you can then sort of filter your ads by ebook and audiobook. There's a lot of small tweaks that we're going to be making there. We always love to hear if there are tools or features that we could add to the ads platform, or anything else. If you ever have requests for us, definitely email us. We love getting those bits of feedback and questions, and could you do this? Because again, sometimes it's really fabulous ideas, and it's great for us to know sort of what else we could be doing to make it even easier for you to use all those tools. So send us all of your feedback.
Awesome. Tammy has an interesting question here. So how does BookBub ensure readers are getting emails and opens? So any tips for authors trying to, with newsletters that are trying to maximize the open and click rates?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We have an entire team of people that are dedicated to that. We obviously are sending out many, many millions of emails every day. So
yeah, how do you not get stuck in that spam filter?
We work really hard on it. We've got a lot of people working hard to make sure that we keep our readers engaged. So one of the number one things is making sure you give people plenty of opportunities to opt out. So we do actually have a weekly featured deal option if an email every day is too much for some people, which is very understandable. And so they can switch to a weekly email, and we space that out so that there's weekly subscribed readers who are still getting emails every single day to ensure that the deals still get as much exposure as possible. And I think we actually include any deal that's still live in that weekly version as well, since they're getting more books basically less often. So that's one thing that if we have readers who aren't engaging, we'll sort of see, is that going to be a better fit for them to switch to 1 week? And in general, sort of newsletter best practices to make sure that if people aren't engaging, that you check in with them, make sure they still want to stay signed up. It's much better for you in terms of deliverability to have people that are active and opening your emails than people who are immediately deleting them, or if they are landing in spam. And I think that there are tons of fantastic resources out there as well on newsletters, authors who have really figured things out for author newsletters in particular. There's obviously a lot of email marketing tips out there. So that's some of what we do.
Yeah, I was going to recommend, so Tammy, there's a book by another Tammy the Brett called Newsletter Ninja, which is really great, and it has a lot of good advice about how to kind of get the best out of, how to utilize your newsletter as best as possible. So Cindy would like to know, how long do you recommend a free deal stays live for the maximum benefit of read through?
That is a great question. We actually, again, we have a blog post on this, and I don't know if I can remember the
Did you
data
write
off
it?
the top of my head. I did not write that one. I think for a free deal, I want to say it was at least 3 to 5 days. And then I can't remember what the maximum was, but especially again for free deals, the longer it's available for free, the more eyes you're going to get on it. But then I think there was a point where if you ended the deal after, if you didn't sort of leave it live indefinitely, that when you've still got the visibility from the free deal, but then you switch the book back to paid, there will still be readers who purchase it at whatever the full price is once it's got that visibility from the free deal. So there's definitely trade-offs. Perma-free is obviously a great option in some circumstances as well. So I think it depends on exactly, again, what you're trying to accomplish there. But we did pull some data on kind of the different trade-offs of different lengths of time. Yeah.
All right. So we're just going to be hitting up your blog for everything after this. Like, that's the main
Like such
takeaway.
a cop-out answer, but I mean, we've got tons of great data on there. And I can remember a lot of it, but definitely not all of it.
Yeah. I would say, Cindy, that if you're putting a book for free on Kobo to kind of coincide with a BookBub, I'd give yourself a day or two on either side just to make sure that it goes through okay. I mean, our updates generally are really fast, but just in case anything happens. And we do have a price promotions tool that allows you to set it. So you can set up like next week, I'm going to put my book free for 5 days, and then you don't have to worry about it again. And we'll set you an email reminder when it's changing and when it changes back. So that kind of gives you a little bit of extra peace of mind about changing things through.
Yeah, definitely a good tip to have that go live a few days in advance of when you need it to be free. We have seen a lot of panic, and it's the worst.
Oh no, I know.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse when you're trying to help a panicked author. You're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Wayne is asking if you'll be coming back to NINC. We were chatting before this.
Yes.
I believe you are. Yeah,
that's the plan. Yeah, we love NINC. It's one of our favorite conferences. So we're planning to be back there this year. Yes.
All right. Awesome. And is there any other conferences that you'll be going to this year?
Yes, we were just talking. Some of us will be at the London Book Fair next week. We're planning to at this point. We'll see how plans change depending on news with the coronavirus, not to get bogged down in current events there. But,
I know, but it is making
we're
the
hoping
world
we can
feel
still
a bit
make
of
the trip. Yeah. So we'll have some people in the author HQ area of the London Book Fair is the plan as of today. So if you are going to be there, definitely come and stop by and say hello to us in person. We can answer any other questions you have. Yeah, awesome. And where can authors get in touch with you if they have questions, or your team? So for our team, it's partners@bookbub.com is that email address. And for me, you can find me on Twitter. It's probably the best place. So it's just @Carlyn@BookBub. And yeah, I mean, you can ping me and I'm happy to direct you to resources, answer questions. But in many cases, actually, my teammates are going to be faster to get back to you because that's their whole job, is to be there to help you out and answer questions. And you can also, mention that you heard something in this live feed or whatever. And if there is something specific for me, they can always, of course, get it to me as well.
Right, awesome. And yeah, I hope that if anyone sees that BookBub are at conferences this year, that they go. I've seen Carlyn talk before, and she's terribly helpful. And the presentations are always good. Yeah, I always like that you kind of go into the granular details of like different categories that are kind of doing well, and different authors' success stories. So I always find that really helpful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Well, we have a couple of minutes left if there's any more questions. If not, I think we can wrap up. But I think the main takeaway that I have from this for authors is that if you're working with BookBub and Kobo together, to let us know, and we'll try and place you guys in as many spots on our website as possible, in addition to your potential featured deals going out. What was my takeaway from the ads? That like kind of everything works, but if it's audio, put a headphone on it.
That was a good takeaway. Yeah. For ads, I can talk a little bit more about ads if we have time. We can talk about ads forever. Yeah. Biggest thing for ads is start with low budgets. Don't jump in and spend a ton of money. Start with $10, $20, let it run, see if you're happy, and then keep tweaking and adding budget from there. But don't jump in and go really big right from the get-go. Give yourself some time to learn what works and then slowly gear it up.
Yeah. Does the BookBub team kind of help with budgeting in that terms, or kind of give advice, or is it more about the authors to try and figure out which is the best sweet spot for them?
We can give advice. Again, if you write into us, we can actually take a look at ad campaigns and offer if there's any particular feedback that we have. In terms of budgets, we sort of leave it up to authors to figure it out for themselves, depending on what they've got to work with. For the bids, we do actually have recommendations in the form, so you know what other people are bidding, so you're not just kind of shooting in the dark there.
Right. Cool. And you were saying that the most successful kind of ad, I'm losing the word, to use other authors, the targeting, sorry.
Yes, yeah.
The most successful kind of targeting is author-based rather than categories because it's more granular, is that?
Yes, yeah. And author-based, especially if you're targeting readers on platforms like Kobo, you want to make sure that the authors you're targeting also have their books on those platforms. So that's something to keep in mind when you're doing some research for those targets. Other tip for author targeting would be avoid the temptation to just target the biggest authors in your genre. They obviously have huge audiences in many cases, but in terms of engagement with ads, you can often find far more engaged audiences with authors who write stuff that's much closer to the books that you're writing than necessarily someone who has a huge following in your genre, would be another tip.
So for me, with my very first horror book, I shouldn't be targeting Stephen King.
Probably not. You can, certainly can. We're not going to stop you, but
but probably wouldn't get the best for my money.
You'll get a lot of eyes, but not necessarily the clicks coming through all the time.
What if my book is also called It?
That might have some more success. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
and
cool.
what we see there actually is just that the fans of some of the really biggest authors and genres tend to be more casual fans of the genre sometimes. So there are people that will read every single Stephen King book, but might not read other horror novels.
Yeah. Do you have any, do you do anything for targeting with authors on platforms specifically? Because we get questions from time to time where people ask about what similar authors are being purchased to them on Kobo, say, versus on Barnes & Noble, because they're not quite the same. Or is it just because I guess you're targeting just the BookBub readers?
Because it's just the BookBub readers. We don't have recommendations on that. But I mean, I think it makes a ton of sense that the targets that work well for Kobo readers are going to be slightly different than on other platforms. I have heard that from advertisers, that they see different types of authors and even sometimes different types of books work better with different retailers. Always test. It's the #1 ads tip.
Test.
Yes.
All right. Awesome.
Time-consuming and not so fun, but very important.
I think some people find it fun.
Some people do. Yeah. I mean, it's like a game.
Just think of it as, I was going to say, imagine it's not your money, but that's terrible advice. I take that back. Sorry, Laura's shaking her head at me. All right. Well, thanks very much, Carlyn, for coming. Thanks for everyone for watching live and your questions. We're going to have this on Facebook afterwards and YouTube too. And if you have any questions that didn't get answered, you can reach out to both of us. If there's enough, we can always do this again if you would be so kind to join us.
Absolutely. Thanks for all the great questions, everyone.
All right. Thanks very much, Carlyn. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.